I never thought revenge would taste like cheap champagne and wilted roses. But there I was, on the edge of my college graduation stage, the weight of 4 years' worth of buried rage pressing against my ribs like a second heartbeat. My mother, Evelyn, with her perfectly coiffed bob and that pearl necklace she'd borrowed from my grandmother's estate, leaned in close, her breath sour with the mints she popped to mask the gin. Finally done embarrassing me, Isla, she hissed, loud enough for the dean to glance over, her smile as sharp as the heels digging into the polished wood floor. I didn't flinch. Instead, I slipped the envelope from the hidden pocket in my gown, the one with the lab's crisp seal, stamped in red like a guilty verdict, and pressed it into her manicured palm. Read it,
Mom.
out loud, if you want the whole auditorium to hear. The crowd's applause stuttered into a hush, phones already whipping out like vultures sensing fresh scandal. Her eyes flicked down, the color draining from her Botox-smooth cheeks as the words hit her. Probability of maternity, 0.0001%. Not my mother. Not by blood.
Anyway.
And the real kicker? The donor match pointed straight to the man she'd buried in a pauper's grave 10 years ago, my father, the one she'd convinced everyone, including me, was a monster. That was the hook. The detonator I'd wired for years. But revenge isn't a single explosion, it's the slow burn that chars everything in its path. And mine? It started long before that stage. Back in the sticky summer heat of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where the Mississippi's lazy current hides more sins than it carries away. I was 16 when the first crack appeared in the facade Evelyn had built around our family, like a termite-eaten mansion. Dad, Jack Harlan, the man I called father, was a rough-around-the-edges mechanic, elbows black with grease from the auto shop on Magazine Street, the kind of guy who fixed neighbors' transmissions for free and came home smelling like motor oil and Bud Light. He wasn't perfect, hell. No one in our bayou-adjacent neighborhood was. But he loved me fierce. The way Southern men do, with bear hugs that lifted you off the ground and bedtime stories about bayou gators that ended in lessons about standing tall. Evelyn, though, she was the polished veneer. The PTA president who hosted crawfish boils in our shotgun house while whispering poison about Jack to anyone who'd listen. He's holding us back, she'd say over sweet tea, her voice honey-dipped venom. I bought it because I had to. Kids don't question the woman who packs your lunch and irons your prom dress. But that summer, everything splintered. It was the night of the shop's annual barbecue, the air thick with charcoal smoke and Zydeco blasting from a boombox. Jack had been saving for months to buy me a used Schwinn for my birthday, the one with the banana seat I'd begged for since I was 12. He presented it like a king crowning a queen, all grins and calloused hands. Evelyn watched from the porch, her lips pursed like she'd sucked a lemon. Later, when the guests cleared out and the fireflies danced like drunken firecrackers, she cornered me in the kitchen. Isla, honey, she started, her drawl thickening like molasses. Your daddy's been borrowing from the shop's till. For that bike. We can't afford his little indulgences. Her eyes, the same muddy brown as mine, or so I thought, glistened with fake tears. She showed me the ledger. Pages she'd found in his toolbox. Numbers fudged in her looping script. Embezzlement. 20 grand gone.
Poof.
Into his gambling habit she claimed he'd hidden. I didn't believe her at first. Jack, the man who tithed to the Baptist church even when we ate ramen for a week? But Evelyn was relentless. She played the recordings next, grainy cell phone audio of Jack confessing to a buddy over beers. His voice slurred just enough to sound damning. Turned out she'd spiked his drink that afternoon, waited for the vulnerability, and hit record. He's dragging us down. Baby girl, she cooed, stroking my hair. If the cops come, they'll take him away.
But you.
You could say it was you. Just a silly teen mistake, dipping into petty cash for makeup or boys. They'd go easy on a kid like you.
Take the fall.
For him. Because she loved us. That's what she said. Her arms around me like a noose disguised as a hug. I was 16. Scared shitless of losing the only stability I knew, Jack's rough laugh. His Sunday morning pancakes drowned in Caro syrup. So I nodded. Signed the statement. Told the detectives it was me. That I'd forged the checks for stupid shit, my voice cracking like cheap porcelain. Jack went down hard. 15 years for felony theft. His eyes hollow as they let him out in cuffs, whispering, "It's okay.
Peanut.
We'll fix this." Evelyn played the grieving wife to perfection. Fundraisers at the VFW. Interviews with the local news where she teared up about family betrayal. She got a job at the parish clerk's office. Climbed the ladder on sympathy votes. And within a year, we were in a split level in Metairie. Her behind the wheel of a leased Escalade.
Me?
I was the town cautionary tale. The wild child who got probation and community service. Whispers following me through the halls of Brother Martin High like cigarette smoke. But the guilt gnawed at me. A Louisiana gator in the swamp of my gut. I'd visit Jack every other weekend at Angola, the state's hellhole prison where men like him broke like driftwood. He'd never ask about the bike, or the money, or why his little girl had suddenly turned state's evidence. Instead, he'd slip me contraband Snickers through the glass and talk about getting out early, starting a food truck with gumbo that'd make Commander's Palace weep. "You're my anchor, Isla," he'd say, pressing his palm to the plexiglass. "Don't let the storm sink you." Evelyn hated those visits. Wallowing in the past, she'd scoff, packing my bag with store-bought pralines as consolation prizes. She filled the house with distractions, cheer tryouts I bombed, beauty pageants where I smiled through gritted teeth. Boys from Tulane she paraded like show ponies. One of them, Tyler Beaumont, son of a state senator, stuck around longest. Charming as a Mardi Gras float, with his daddy's money greasing every wheel. Evelyn approved. He was her ticket to the junior league. The garden club brunches where she could drop my daughters dating a Beaumont like confetti. Tyler was the first time I tasted real rebellion. We'd sneak out to the levees, parking his daddy's Mustang where the river whispered secrets. He'd talk politics, how the system's rigged for folks like his family, and I'd nod, thinking of Jack's faded tattoo of the LSU tiger on his forearm. One night, buzzed on stolen Boone's farm, I confessed everything, the forged ledger, the spiked confession, Evelyn's crocodile tears. Tyler listened, his hand on my thigh, eyes gleaming like he'd hit the Powerball. "That's heavy,
Babe.
but hey, families fuck you over." Mine did too. Dad's affair with the maid? Classic. He kissed me then, tasting like spearmint and opportunity, promising to look into it with his connections. He didn't. Or if he did, it circled back to Evelyn. A week later, she sat me down with a velvet box, a necklace with a sapphire pendant. For my future debutante. Tyler had picked it out, she said, beaming. "He's a keeper.
Isla.
Don't screw it up with old ghosts." I wore it to prom, the chain a chokehold around my neck, while Tyler's hands wandered in the hotel limo, his whispers turning from sweet nothings to "your mom's right. You're better off without that dead weight." College was my escape hatch. LSU in Baton Rouge. Majoring in criminal justice, because irony's a bitch. And every lecture on white-collar crime felt like a personal exorcism. Evelyn footed the bill. Of course, Jack's prison wages garnished to nothing. Her clerk's salary ballooning with overtime. She'd visit for parents' weekend. All air kisses and Instagram-worthy tailgates. Posting pics of us in purple and gold with captions like "Proud Mom Moment." But I'd see the cracks, the way she'd glance at my phone, the accidental deletions of my emails to Jack's prison counselor. It was during sophomore year, buried in a stack of case studies on familial perjury, that I found the thread to unravel her. A footnote on forensic accounting led me to a Baton Rouge firm, the kind that audits parish funds for peanuts. I scraped together waitressing tips and sent off Jack's old shop records, receipts he'd squirreled away in a coffee can, mailed to me in code during visits. The accountant, a grizzled ex-cop named Harlan, no relation, thank God,
Called me 3 weeks later.
"Kid, this ain't embezzlement. It's a shell game. Someone siphoned the cash through dummy invoices to a P.O. box in your mom's maiden name. The P.O. box? Traced to a storage unit in Slidell, stuffed with designer bags and a safety deposit key. I drove there alone, heart hammering like a jackhammer on asphalt, and cracked it open at the bank. Inside, passports in Evelyn's name with a different DOB, stock certificates in offshore accounts, and a birth certificate. Mine. But the mother's name? Not Evelyn Harlan. It was Marlene Voss, a cocktail waitress from a French quarter dive who'd OD'd in '98, 6 months after I was born. Jack wasn't my bio dad either, but he'd known. The certificate had his signature, acknowledgement of paternity. No questions asked. Evelyn? She'd been Marlene's roommate. The friend who'd swooped in when the baby blues hit hard and the pills started flowing. She'd claimed me as her own, buried the truth under layers of lies. And when Jack discovered the fraud years later, maybe during one of their fights, she'd framed him to shut him up forever. I confronted her that Christmas, back in the Metairie house with its twinkling lights and forced cheer. "Why?" I demanded, slamming the birth certificate on the granite island. She didn't deny it. Just sipped her eggnog, eyes cold as the bayou at midnight. Survival.
Isla.
Marlene was weak, popping Vicodin like candy, leaving you in a bassinet while she chased highs. I gave you a life.
Jack?
He was collateral. Men like him get in the way. Collateral. My father, adoptive or not, rotting in a cell for her greed. The bike money? Funneled to her side hustle, a pyramid scheme selling knockoff essential oils to desperate housewives. Tyler? She'd greased him with insider tips on parish contracts, turning him into her golden boy while he played me like a fiddle. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Just walked out into the humid night, the sapphire necklace snapping under my fingers like a wishbone. From there, it was chess, not checkers. I lawyered up pro bono through a prison reform nonprofit, filed appeals on Jack's behalf. Evidence mounted, the spiked audio analyzed for adulterants, the ledger ink-dated post-arrest. But Evelyn was slippery, charmed the judge with her widow act, leaked counterdirt to the press about my instability, even sicked Tyler on me with restraining order threats. By senior year, Jack was out on technicalities, a ghost of himself with gray streaks and a limp from the yard fights. We reunited in a Waffle House off I-10, him wolfing down hash browns like a man starved, me fighting tears into my coffee. Knew you'd come through.
Peanut, he rasped.
His hand over mine. Rough as sandpaper, but steady. Evelyn? She'd doubled down, announcing her run for parish council on a family values platform. Tyler as her campaign manager. Irony again, her slogan, restoring trust in troubled times. That's when I planned the graduation bomb. Not just the DNA reveal, though the lab had confirmed Marlene's tissue sample from the coroner's cold case file, but the full dossier. Bank records. Witness affidavits from the storage unit's manager. Even Tyler's texts begging me to keep quiet for the greater good. I could have gone nuclear earlier. Leaked it to the Times-Picayune. Watched her empire crumble in headlines.
But no.
Revenge needed intimacy. The kind that scars deeper than scandal sheets. The envelope wasn't the only payload. Tucked inside, a USB drive with everything, plus a letter in my handwriting. Choose. Evelyn. Confess to the DA. Free and clear. Or I hit send to every voter in the parish. Your call. But as the dean cleared his throat and the crowd murmured, I saw the flip in her eyes, the schemer's calculus, weighing exposure against escalation. She crumpled the paper, her smile returning like a bad penny. You think this ends me? It ends us.
Isla.
All of it. She was right. In a way. But I wasn't done playing. The fallout from graduation hit like Hurricane Katrina's ugly cousin, slow building. Then biblical. By Monday, the story was viral. LSU grad exposes mom in shocking DNA twist on stage. TikToks dissected our frozen standoff. Commenters splitting into camps faster than a political rally. Team Isla cheered my girl boss takedown, hailing me as the avenger of silenced daughters. Team Evelyn decried it as ingratitude porn, painting her as the saint who'd saved me from a junkie mom. Tyler, ever the opportunist, went live on his pod, Bayou Blues, spinning it as toxic family drama while dodging questions about his role. Isla's always been intense, he drawled, that senator's son's smirk intact. I didn't care about the noise. Jack and I holed up in his sister's double-wide in Homa, the AC rattling like loose teeth, plotting our next moves over lukewarm Abita beers. He was frail, the prison years etching lines on his face like cracks in Delta clay. But his fire still banked hot. Don't let her poison you. Peanut, he'd say, fiddling with a model pirogue he'd whittled from balsa. Revenge is a bayou trap. Sucks you under if you ain't careful. Wise words from a man who'd lost everything to one woman's web. But careful? That ship had sailed with the Schwinn. Evelyn didn't confess. Instead, she lured up with the firm that repped big oil during spills, countersuing me for defamation and emotional distress. Her presser was a masterclass in Southern Gothic gaslighting, standing tear-streaked before St. Louis Cathedral, flanked by pearl-clutching aunties. She wailed about a troubled young woman grappling with identity issues. The DNA? Fabricated by online charlatans. The embezzlement? Slander against a single mother's sacrifices. Polls dipped, then rebounded. Voters love a comeback queen. Especially one promising tax cuts and tough love for wayward kids. Tyler was her wild card, flipping loyalties like a weather vane in a nor'easter. He texted me at 2 a.m. one night. Post-graduation haze still clinging. We need to talk. She's unhinged. Meet at the levee? I went. Glock 19 tucked in my waistband, legal carry in Louisiana. And trust? A relic. He showed up in khakis and a polo, looking every bit the frat boy turned politico. But his eyes were feral, darting like a coonhound on scent. Isla. Baby, he started. Hands up like, surrender. This is bigger than us. Evelyn's got dirt, real dirt.
On you.
That community service? She planted the weed in your locker to make the theft stick. Lie or truth? His tell was the averted gaze. The same one he'd had when he ghosted me after prom. But then he dropped the bomb. She's not stopping at council. Governor's eyeing her for AG. Family ties. You know, Voss blood. Marlene's side had pulled back in the day.
Voss.
The name slithered through me like Spanish moss. Marlene's obit had mentioned a brother. Harlan Voss. Some mid-level politico who'd clawed to lieutenant governor before a DUI scandal sidelined him.
Dead now.
But his widow? Still wheeling deals in Baton Rouge backrooms. If Evelyn was Vosskin by marriage or blood, wait.
No.
She'd been Marlene's roommate.
But the math. Marlene åt du in oss som individet.
I was born 97. Roommates don't just claim babies. There had to be more. Tyler saw the hook set. Help me bury her. And I'll bury the countersuit. We could. Start fresh. His hand grazed my arm, that old electricity sparking despite the rot. Controversial? Hell yes, teaming with the ex who'd pimped me out for votes. But revenge blurs lines, turns enemies into uneasy allies. I played along, feeding him half-truths while I dug deeper. Back in Homa, I hit the public records like a bloodhound on meth. Marlene Voss, turns out. She wasn't just a waitress. She'd been a confidential informant for the NOPD, flipping on low-level mob ties in the quarter. Her OD? Ruled accidental. But the tox report screamed foul, laced fentanyl before it was epidemic chic. And Evelyn? Listed as emergency contact, with a notarized guardianship form dated weeks before the death. A coincidence? Or cover for something uglier? A mercy kill to save the baby from a mother's demons? The twist gnawed at me. Had Evelyn poisoned Marlene? Slipped the fatal dose to play White Knight? No proof. Just shadows. But Jack's eyes lit when I showed him the files. That witch, he growled, slamming his fist on the Formica table. After the funeral, she came to me, crying about how Marlene begged her to take you. Said it was God's will, or some bullshit. I signed cause. Hell, you were this tiny thing with her eyes. Thought I was doing right.
Right.
The word mocked me. I'd spent years hating him for abuses Evelyn whispered, bruises that were her slaps during rages, blackouts she blamed on his drinking. Now, the real monster wore Chanel No. 5 and campaigned on piety. Tyler's intel checked out partially. Evelyn was Voss-connected, Marlene's cousin by a bootleg marriage in the family tree. She'd married Jack to legitimize the adoption, then bled the shop dry to fund her climb, using Marlene's old CI contacts to launder kickbacks through parish bids. We struck back surgical. Jack, with his grease monkey savvy, hacked together a burner laptop from pawn shop parts. I uploaded the dossier to a dark web drop, anonymized, with a timer set to flood Evelyn's donor list if she won the primary. Tyler? I strung him along, meeting in Fleabag motels off the interstate, his propositions turning desperate. She's flipping on me too, he confessed one night, sweat-slicked and spent. Says if I don't spin this as your hysteria, she'll out my coke habit to dad. Flip face indeed. Now he was the betrayed, begging for mercy. But trust? Still a four-letter word. I recorded every pillow talk confession. His voice tinny on my phone, admissions of forging Evelyn's campaign docs, skimming PAC funds for his trust. Controversial decision number 2, I leaked a teaser to an indie journo at Gambit, the alt weekly that thrived on corruption scoops. Not the full blast, just enough to spike her polls with doubt.
Force her hand.
The primary debate was electric, held in a sweltering high school gym in Jefferson Parish. Air thick with fried dough from the concession stand and the sour tang of ambition. Evelyn took the stage in a red power suit, podium like a shield, touting transparency, while her eyes scanned the crowd for threats. I sat in the back row, incognito in a tiger's hoodie, Jack beside me nursing a thermos of chicory coffee. Tyler moderated irony's gift, his smile strained as he lobbed softballs. Then the bomb dropped. Mid-question on ethics reform. The journo's phone buzzed live feed style, projected on the Jumbotron for real-time fact-checks. Up popped the teaser, Evelyn's face next to Marlene's mugshot from a '96 solicitation bust. Caption screaming counsel hopefuls hidden kin, mob ties, or maternal mercy. The gym erupted, gasps, jeers, a chair scraping as a supporter bolted. Evelyn froze, her mic feedback shrieking like a banshee. Before she rallied, smears from a desperate daughter. I've given everything for this community. Desperate? Maybe. But as she locked eyes with me across the bleachers, I saw the fracture, the schemer cornered, mask slipping. Tyler fumbled the segue, his face ashen. And that's when I knew he'd flipped again,
Tipping her off to buy time.
or had he? Later, rifling his texts, I found the chain. Isla's playing us both. Burn it all.
Sent to her. Not me.
The betrayal stung, but it fueled the fire. Post-debate, Evelyn's camp imploded, donors fleeing like rats from a levee breach. She called me at dawn, voice a rasp over the line from her war room. You win.
Isla. Meet me at the old shop.
Midnight. Bring Jack. No cops. No lawyers, just family reckoning. Southern style. We arrived under a waxing moon, the auto bay's roll-up door creaking like a coffin lid. Evelyn waited inside, shadows pooling around her like spilled ink, a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle half empty on the workbench. To old times, she toasted, glass trembling. Jack hung back, fists clenched, but I stepped forward.
Confess.
D'ace waiting. She laughed, bitter as burnt rue. Confess to what? Loving you enough to kill for it. The words hung, then detonated. Marlene coked out, ranting about taking the kid and running to her mob ex. Evelyn, high on her own savior complex, had crushed Ambien into the wine. Mercy, she called it, tears carving tracks through her makeup. I buried her secret, buried the body in a pauper plot, claimed you as mine. Jack knew, signed the papers to cover it. Your embezzlement, insurance. To keep him quiet when the guilt ate him. Jack lunged, but I held him back. Murder. Manslaughter. The line blurred in the dim fluorescence. And me, complicit by blood. By lies I'd told to protect a ghost. Evelyn's eyes pleaded now. The flip final, from villain to victim. Or something grayer. End it here.
Isla.
Walk away. We're all monsters in this swamp. The choice tore me. Expose her. Free Jack fully, but chain myself to the scandal? Or silence? Let the partial leaks stand. Her career a casualty, but the deeper grave undisturbed? Tyler's car crunched gravel outside. Headlights cutting the dark. Ally or Judas? Come to collect. I chose the gray. Not out of mercy, Evelyn didn't deserve that, but calculus. Cold as the shop's concrete floor. Exposing the murder would have dragged Jack under again. Accessory after the fact. Perjury stacking like storm surge.
Me?
I'd be the daughter who profited from a corpse. Tabloids twisting my revenge into edible fever dream. Tyler's arrival sealed it. He burst in, wild-eyed, waving a flash drive like a white flag. She's got backups, everything on Marlene, on us. Deleted. Or we're all swimming with the gators.
Us.
The words stuck like burrs. Evelyn snatched the drive. Her laugh a bark. Fool boy. It's encrypted on my server. But Tyler wasn't bluffing. He'd cloned her cloud during a strategy session, his coke-fueled paranoia birthing a backdoor. We huddled over Jack's jury-rigged laptop. The four of us a tableau of fractured kin, sweat slicked, breaths sinking in the humid trap. Deletes cascaded, files vanishing like smoke from a po' grill. Evelyn's empire reduced to ash in keystrokes. She fought it, nails raking Tyler's arm, drawing beads of blood that dotted the keyboard like period points. You traitors! I built this, for her. Her fingers stabbed at me. Accusation laced with something rawer. Regret?
Love.
The toxic kind that festers? Jack watched silent, his whimpers the only sound beyond the fan's whine. Until he cracked. Enough.
Evie.
Let it go. For Isla.
For me.
The plea hung. And in that beat, the room tilted. She'd killed for me. Lied for me. Climbed from shotgun shacks to split levels on my behalf. Monster or mother, the line dissolved, leaving a chasm where certainty drowned. I hit enter on the final purge. The server chirped confirming oblivion. Tyler slumped. Spent, Evelyn crumpled, sobs racking her frame like withdrawal shakes. We left her there, door rattling shut behind us. The Mississippi's distant hum a lullaby for the damned. Jack drove. His old F-150 coughing back to life. Tyler shotgun with a black eye blooming from Evelyn's ring. Me in the bed. Stars wheeling overhead. The wind whipping tears I didn't know I'd shed. No cops that night, too tangled, too tired. Dawn broke over the Atchafalaya, coffee black and still, as we ditched Tyler at a Greyhound station in Lafayette. Go fix your daddy's messes, I told him, his duffel thumping the tarmac. He nodded. The flip boy finally flipped out, murmuring, Sorry, Isla. For everything.
Sorry.
A currency cheaper than crawfish at Lent. Back in Homa, life stuttered into uneasy rhythm. Jack got a gig wrenching at a marina, hands steady on outboards, his laugh returning in fits over red beans on Mondays. I deferred law school apps, bartending at a riverside joint called the Mudbug, slinging hurricanes to tourists who cooed over my authentic drawl. Evelyn? She withdrew from the race, citing health concerns, code for a breakdown that landed her in a Garden District clinic, electroshock whispers and all. The leaks stood, enough to tarnish her name, bar her from public troughs. But no cuffs, no headlines screaming matricide. Months blurred into a humid haze. Spring thaw brought the Voss widow sniffing around, a steel-haired matriarch named Delphine, Marlene's sister-in-law, who cornered me at a second-line parade on Rampart. Family's family. Share, she drawled, pressing a card into my palm, embossed with state seal, an offer for consulting on ethics boards. Evelyn's blood called to mine. Or maybe just the money. I pocketed it. The controversy a low hum. Take the deal, launder the legacy, or burn it like bridge pilings. The twist came unbidden. A FedEx envelope postmarked Slidell, No return address. Evelyn's looping script inside. Dearest Isla, you won. But blood's thicker than revenge. Check the attic box. Marlene's last gift. Heart slamming. I drove to the Metairie house. Key still under the mat like old times. The place reeked of neglect, mail piles, wine stains on silk rugs, but the attic stairs creaked true. There, amid moth-chewed linens, a shoebox, taped shut, labeled for baby girl. Inside, no bombs, just letters, yellowed and folded like prayer hands. Marlene's handwriting, loopy and urgent, accounts of her CI double life, the mob ex who roughed her up, the pregnancy she'd hidden from all but Evelyn. The last one, dated days before the OD. Evie's my rock. But she's cracking, talks about ending it for us both. If I go quiet, know I fought. Raise her fierce.
Cher.
Voss blood runs deep. But Harlan Hart, that's your armor. A photo clipped in Marlene. Swollen-bellied. Arm around a younger Evelyn at a Saints tailgate. Grins wide as the Superdome. Harlan Hart. Jack's. Not mine. But the kicker? A paternity test. Amateur but conclusive. Marlene and the mobster. Not Jack. I'd been Voss' spawn all along. Evelyn's mercy, a theft from cradle to grave. No wonder Tyler's intel flowed. Delphine had groomed him as my unwitting match. A dynastic play to keep the bloodline pure. I burned the box in the backyard fire pit, flames devouring the past like absinthe. Jack never knew, some secrets stay sunk. Evelyn? I visited her clinic once. Through plexi, like Angola's echo. She was medicated mellow. Eyes clear but distant. Proud of you, she murmured. Hand to glass. Even now. Monster absolved? Or madness mercy? I walked out. The debate raging internal. Forgiveness a chain. Or freedom's key. Summer peaked in a storm that flooded the bayous, stranding us in Homa with cards and king cake. Jack proposed a road trip, Route 66. Man and peanut against the world. I said yes. Packing light. The Glock traded for a .38 snub in my glove box. Tyler vanished into DC internships. His pod gone silent. Evelyn emerged months later. Quieter. Clerking files in a private firm. Her smiles genuine or just better rehearsed. The ending? No tidy bow. No villain vanquished clean. I drive west sometimes. Radio crackling Springsteen, wondering if revenge rebuilt or just rearranged the ruins. Readers hell. Voters. Commenters. They'll pick sides. Was Evelyn savior or slayer? Tyler pawn or predator?
Me.
The hero who spared the blade. Or the fool who let the snake slither free. Bloodlines shatter. But shards cut both ways. In America, where justice is a jury of your peers and mercy a maybe. That's the real hook. No one's clean. And the twist is, maybe that's grace. We hit the California line at sunset, Jack whooping as the Pacific gleamed like stolen silver. To new starts.
Isla.
I clinked my thermos. The road unspooling endless. But in the rear view, shadows lingered, Evelyn's eyes. Marlene's letters. Decisions that divided even me. Happy? Tragic?
You tell me.
The bayou doesn't forget. And neither do I.